Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Waypoint podcast. Today, we are going over our favorite moments of season 1 of Invincible. So, you better have watched it all because we are going full spoilers right from the beginning.
Invincible dies.
Not so invincible.
That's just
He
a
doesn't
lie.
actually. He doesn't
It's a
actually.
lie.
They've already announced seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah. So,
What a pivot that would be.
Just dies in the first episode and he's gone. They're like, wow, they really diverted from the comics.
Yep. Joining me today, we have Austin,
That's me. Hello.
got Chris,
Voila.
and joining us again, we have Paul.
How you guys doing?
Yay, so excited.
Fantastic.
So,
I forget his flamingo.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and the
It is in
flamingo.
frame.
How
Oh,
could you forget?
I have a Mass Effect helmet that I was about to try to figure out how to put in frame as well, but I was like, no.
Did you get? Is it the legendary edition for the remake? Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I was
I mean,
gonna wear it. I was really tempted to just wear it, but I was like, no.
It's
Like,
great because it would just be the eyes. Like that.
exactly. It's just to the eyes, but then like the audio would all be just muffled. I feel like Albot would kill me. He'd be like,
So that's
you know
actually-
what a bastard it's gonna be to edit this.
Speaking of eyes, that's actually the first thing that I want to bring up. So, just regarding the Invincible's costume, which is dope, I might add. Very cool looking. But there's something about the eyepieces. It's like, you guys ever worn goggles?
Mm-hmm.
And so you know when you got it like around here, there's definitely like some warping where the lenses are and stuff, especially like where it starts to get round.
Mhm.
Do you imagine that everything that he sees as Invincible is just like looking through a fishbowl? Because that's kind of what I think is going on.
I
there,
imagine.
and that's why he gets the shit beat out of him so much, because he's got no depth perception.
You'd
I
think he'd learn
imagine
then.
there's something
Really
special
does
to
get
him.
his ass kicked a lot in this series. And that's so I'm the guy who's read a good chunk of the comics.
Mhm.
So it's like I don't remember, and I really should have done research and verified this before saying it, but I'm just gonna talk out my ass.
We don't do that.
Go for it. Yeah, we never do that.
But like, I don't remember him getting beat this bad in the comics.
Every single
Because,
fight.
That was why the big turn at the end of season 1 here, why that was such a big deal, was because of he had gone through and he was invincible. He had fought all these people, and like, sure, he might have like taken some hits and he'd been like beat up a bit, but he had never been like just beat
mangled
down. Yeah, like he had never just been like that guy laying in a crater. Meanwhile, in this, it's like every other episode is him getting just, if not bodied, real close to getting bodied.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it does make his name feel a little bit far-fetched. For sure.
I mean, he doesn't die.
Sure.
True, but I was half expecting them to pull some like Saiyan bullshit where it's just like every time I don't die, I just come back stronger. It's like, okay, that's a cop out, sure.
Especially
why
like
not?
in that finale episode, I was waiting for the turnaround and it never came.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, that's the thing, because it's not supposed to in that regard. Like,
Sure.
if they follow the comics, there is a kind of turn later on when he gets a little bit older and he's actually like done some stuff.
Sure.
And so like that's when that's supposed to be, because like, yeah, he's not supposed to be able to take him down. Like, that'd be if he could take him down, then that's like that's some plot armor BS going on now.
Right.
It's like hundreds and hundreds of years experience compared to what, 6 months?
The only
17-year-old human hybrid beating a 100-year-old because he got angry, because he yelled, because Hulk
He got mad. He had big mad.
The only way I can make sense of that is because is he the first human Viltrumite to ever exist? So the only way I feel like they could write around that and be like, because he's half human, something, you know what I mean?
So like Goku.
Essentially, well, no, you mean like
Gohan?
Gohan?
No, so like Gohan, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas his power level is amplified because he's human Saiyan. Yeah.
Yeah, because why not?
Trunks as well.
Not saying I
reasons,
want that.
I don't know.
No.
Because then it really would just be Dragon Ball Z. So
I mean, it's already kind of like
Like,
Dragon Ball Z meets Justice League. Like,
I don't want to break it down. All I'm saying is, though, we have androids, Yeah.
We do have
People trying to go and conquer the Earth. So they send Sun Guy to take over the planet before they send everybody else.
At least the turn wasn't him just bonking his head.
I love how
True.
Rumble's eyes just went wide, being like, "Wait, what?"
I was just saying, I went, oh shit.
Oh, there are some
Wait a
parallels
second.
here. Stop that! Stop that! Stop that!
So I guess for added context, then I know Al hasn't and I haven't. Austin, have you read the comics?
I have not.
Okay, so just Paul then.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So this was despite like hearing years of people being like, hey, you should check this out. You should check this out. This is my first exposure to Invincible.
Same.
I checked out the first episode because Twitter blew up and I was instantly in. Like the world is so cool.
Like that twist at the end of episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
fuck, dude, I was not ready for it to be so violent.
They do a great job setting it up.
To be fair, I didn't like the episode until the ending. Like the opening, the first episode.
I thought it was like, fine until the
exactly.
ending.
I was like,
the ending was where I was like, I have to know what happens next. Like,
exactly. Yeah,
and I was in from there.
Which makes me think that was totally intentional. Is making the first like legitimate chunk of that episode kind of like just it's fine.
Especially because from what my understanding is that that Omni-Man like killing the I keep wanting to say Justice League. That's not right.
Guardians of the Globe.
Whatever. Killing them apparently happens later in the comics.
Yep. That does not like the way they set it up here is like issue 1. It's like, nope, that does not happen in issue 1. There is a lot more set up and all this other stuff. But I mean, at the same time, like they do a great job with it just to set the stakes and being like, yeah, there are these guys, and you see them fight the twins on the White House lawn. You show like how powerful they are, and then Omni-Man shows up, and it's like, wait, what?
Fantastic opening too.
Yeah.
I'm at it, especially where you have like the 2 security guards just talking to each other and they're just bullshitting, and then suddenly these super villains come out of nowhere. Yeah, which one of them is John Hamm? And that recurring character of him just being in the middle of all these fights. It's so fucking great.
What a turn! Now that you bring that up, like when I booted up that episode for the first time, I was like, okay, these are one of the main characters, like dads or something, and then nope.
Yeah, just comic relief.
That was what one of the. It's kind of funny. Some people did not like the animation in this. There are times where the animation does struggle. I'd be lying if I tried to gloss over that. There's times where the animation shines and then it struggles.
It reminds me, I mean, just the art style alone, and then the animation on top of that reminds me a lot of like the early 2000s, like Justice League and Batman the Animated Series, and that sort of. It looks like it came right out of that era.
Yeah, kind of, but like it's still a bit rougher than that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
especially when characters are like flying.
Yeah.
Like that's when it's really noticeable, where it's just kind of like a static image that's moving.
And there were some people that were talking like, oh, well, maybe if they hadn't paid for all of these big name actors to play these roles, they might have been able to, fork over a little bit more money to the animation studio.
Here's the thing, though. I would rather have the actors.
Yep.
They killed it with the voice acting.
Because the performances are amazing.
I totally agree that I'd rather have the actors, but I also think that we've kind of been like, what's the term? Like trained to see this type of animation and kind of be okay with it, because these type of things are almost always about storytelling when it comes to like comic adaptations. At least the ones that we look forward to, not just the money grabbers.
Yeah, I mean, because of that though, it kind of gave me like a vibe of like a really fucked up Saturday morning cartoon.
Right? Yeah.
Like it feels warm and cozy as like Omni-Man is like pulling guts out of people. Like, I mean, it's,
like it's just something you would see on Adult Swim, like
right,
even, like that's what I was
it's like a Happy Tree Friends or something.
Like
you remember
the
that
swift hand through Immortal's head in the first episode.
The juxtaposition.
When he chops him in half in the last one.
The juxtaposition here honestly reminds me of Courage the Cowardly Dog, where it's like it's a cartoon and then it goes places. It just goes places.
Okay. All right. I was like, all right, where are you taking this?
It makes me think of the. It also reminds me of the animated Mortal Kombat movie, Scorpion's Revenge, which they got some fatalities and shit in there. Very similar animation, or at least art style. The animation, so kind of a step up because it's a movie, but. Sure. Also, great cast in that. The guy from Community voices Johnny Cage. Which, speaking of Community, Gillian Jacobs in this show as well as Adam Eve.
Yep.
Which I really want to talk about the cast of the show because it's
Yep.
stellar.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment you say,
let's
"Hey,
go.
the two main characters are Steven Yeun and J.K. Simmons," I'm like, I'm there. Like, that's it. That's rad. And then you've got fucking Kevin Michael Richardson as the Muller twins, fucking Walton Goggins as Cecil, Zachary Quinto as Robot. I mean, there's so many people: Clancy Brown, Mark Hamill, Ross Marquand, John Hamm, Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien. I mean, Jonathan Groff is in it. Ezra Miller. I mean, it's ridiculous, the cast of this show. Mahershala Ali.
Oh, yeah. His character, Titan, was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I expected, I think it's Clancy Brown's character, the, like, detective. Does Clancy Brown play that one?
He plays Damien Darkblood.
Darkblood, yep.
Yeah, but I expected him to come back before the finale, honestly.
Nah, he's in hell.
Sure,
Forever.
but I mean, he got to Earth somehow.
Forever.
Yeah, but hundreds of years ago, thousands.
Do we know that?
Something like, yeah, I remember them saying some stuff like that. Like,
Sure.
for every soul he does, for everything he does, he gets to stay out of hell a little longer. So
Yeah.
it's just like, blah blah blah. Destroyed the book. Oh well, here it is. Why? Shut up, comics.
Demons. Also, what a fantastic concept is like, hey, this guy's a detective. Also, he's a demon from hell. Like,
right. Like
and he's red. He's got a tail and just a big fucking trench coat.
Oh yeah, it's just like a big trench coat, like
basically
so
Hellboy.
Yeah, they matched together like Sherlock Holmes, Constantine, and Hellboy.
It's like Hellboy wearing a Sherlock Holmes cosplay. Like, that's what he is.
Honestly, when I saw it, I saw Raphael from Ninja Turtles. That's what I kept seeing every
trench
time.
coat.
Just, like, just big trench coat. It's just like, why are you even bothering with it? Like, maybe you just like the vibe. All right,
I love that call out.
How else will you know that he's a detective? Like, it's the trench coat and the hat.
Yep,
or
you're
a giant turtle who knows martial arts.
Or it's a big turtle with a couple sides gonna fuck you up.
The cool thing about that though is like when we first are introduced to him, you just see like Cecil's breath like clear the room. Like, oh, that's so cool. Like every time, and it was just a callback.
And the way that they keep
time.
reintroducing that, was really, really cool.
Can we talk about how effectively they just made it like a known fact about the water being like tampered with chemicals to where people can only see certain fractions of light?
That was insane.
Rad as shit.
Okay.
Lights.
So
that's some of the most comic book shit I've ever seen.
So that is straight up comic book shit. So they do that. There's a few things they did in the comics, because in the comic book they do a lot of like satire about superhero comics, which is why, and like comic books in general. So, which is why sometimes like when the art and the animation goes a little like askew, I'm like, no, that's kind of par for the course, because there was one time, so the comic book that Mark reads, the Dog Supreme or Sorcerer Dog or whatever they call
Something
it,
like
right?
that, yeah.
Seance Dog.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
He goes and like he's going to like get that signed by the creator, and he's like sitting there talking at the comic book shop with the creator. He's like, yeah, some people think it's, a little cheap that you just reuse panels and just swap out the word bubbles. What do you think about that? And this is like a 6-panel grid, and it's like the first two are saying that, the next one's blank, 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 like all just looking at him, and then the last one's just like
on Twitter.
No. It's like, no,
I think I've seen that before, yeah.
And then it's the same thing with that room, where it's just like, look, we could sit here and draw a bunch of sciencey mumbo jumbo gobbledygook in the background. No, it's a white room. Why? Because we mad science on top of the mad science. Just be quiet. We're moving through this room. You don't need to see a bunch of nonsense in the background. Our artists do not have time for this.
So
I found it, and I hadn't realized I've seen this as a meme before, and I didn't know that was from Invincible. But I mean, yeah, he's sitting there. He's like, actually, yeah, I use it a lot. Most people don't even notice it. It's like blank blank. He's like, don't you think that's kind of cheap? And then it shows the artist in there. It's like blank blank blank, and he goes, not really.
So you tell me that scene is a callback to the comics, but it's also just a callback to a meme. Like, is that what that is?
It's a callback to the comic that was a meme. It's just like they're not. You don't need to, like, because that is like what it comes down to, is like, look, we could sit here and draw all this stuff out, but we don't need to. You're not like it's just background dressing, and it's gonna take forever. It's just we're just gonna make it a white room. Why? Because we're the government. That's why. You don't need to see it. But yeah, it's just like stuff like that. I was just like, when I saw that, I was like,
That's so awesome.
good
I
job.
love it.
Good job. I like
I
this.
love it.
Good job. Good job, you.
Alec, I know you wanted to get into a specific scene that you wanted to start with.
I was actually just going to talk about that. So getting into good things.
Good things.
I guess good, quote. But or I said like favorite parts, I guess I was getting to.
Sure.
That subway scene. Or I guess you should say,
dude.
I should just say the whole Chicago scene.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing entirely. Which I mean, it's like let's even pull it out for the entire time. That fucking
Like,
Invincible and Omni-Man are fighting like
just all of episode 8, the first like 20-25 minutes of that fucking episode.
Yeah.
Like as soon as it starts popping off, it pops off and doesn't stop for 20 minutes of just like,
it's just relentless.
You're tense that entire time.
Yeah.
Because like
yeah, that subway scene was
and...
so beyond fucked up.
The
my god.
The thing I love about that scene is that it's something that's brutal and it's something that you haven't seen before in a comic.
Yeah.
And it's just like I love how unique that is. And also, we were talking before recording. I'm a glutton for punishment for that stuff. I might just be a Kirkman fan, but like I loved that scene. Like I was just I loved watching it. It was great.
But yeah, it was awesome. Don't get me wrong.
The part I loved about it is that I haven't seen something like that before.
It's very and something I really liked about that as well. It's where I know that I see some people whenever the concept gets brought up like on Twitter and stuff, they're like, ugh, like I'm tired of like the idea of the evil Superman or whatever. But which is exactly what this is, and I know The Boys does that as well. Which that in itself is pretty brutal. But I mean, this is like a whole nother level to where it's where I sit down and I was like, yeah, this is what evil Superman would be, and it's you never really get a chance to see a character like that like really just go completely off the rails and unleash everything they have, and it was just disturbing a little bit, but also I mean, yeah, so unique and interesting. I mean, it's like that first time he punches him, he launches him from like the countryside like into Chicago. And I mean they're like leveling buildings and shit, like it's crazy.
As soon as that building starts coming down and he's like catching the mom, and I'm like, this ain't gonna end well. This is not gonna end well.
Just holding it for arm.
There is no good.
The arm.
I was going to say, it was like before it like panned up to see that it was just holding the arm. I sat there, I was like, he's just holding the arm, isn't it? Like the rest of it is gone.
Same.
And then the camera came out and I went, oh no.
Like
it's
he tumbled like what 3 miles down what we assume was Michigan Avenue in Chicago,
something like that.
Like just destroyed all that.
Which once again you see the animation thing where it was literally looked like somebody took the image and just like hit flip. It just like flip. They're just like, all right.
And it's like despite that, it still worked.
That's the thing though. Like what I hate is when people like start just bad mouthing it for the sake of bad mouthing. It's like, yeah, it's not great, but it doesn't need to be. It's a vehicle to get you to the next scene. It's like, hey, here we're moving on to the next thing. Do we need to have these two characters having these dynamic conversation? Like, do we need them to do a bunch of crazy shit? Can we have them just stand there? Yes, but they're just gonna stand there. We're gonna do the Kevin Smith, just two guys sitting at a table talking. Like, that's it. All right, we don't need to be moving around doing stuff.
I totally love the whole series as a whole, but like Alex said before we start recording, the finale is on our minds, so that's all that's in my mind right now.
Yeah, because I mean, I watched it like right before we got into this. So, I mean, it was like I saw it maybe like 2 hours ago. Yeah.
I do have a question for Paul later, so someone remind me of this, but I want to pivot to the scene. It was just like 5 seconds, not even 5 seconds, where Mark thinks that Nolan is like being mind controlled for a second. Because he's like, there's no way my dad would be doing this. Like, I love that they had that in there. Like, it was like what, 2 lines maybe? But I love that they added that. They didn't have to do that. But I love that part.
And it's such a small thing though, like really just, I mean, helps kind of like speak to that character and show another side. But also I was glad that kind of happened, so that way we could just kind of get it out of the way where he's not like helping him out for a really long time thinking that he's a good guy or whatever. It's like, no, we're just gonna get right into the main conflict. And I was like, cool, that's awesome.
And while I agree with everything you said, I think that the thing it helps the most is the heartbreak in Mark.
Yeah.
Is how much that just destroys him that his father is not who he thought he was.
Like just
God.
that entire mountain scene, like getting
the
beat
line,
to a pulp.
The line, like if you after 500 years, who are you gonna have? What are you gonna have? And he says,
I
"I still have
have you."
And
Damn,
then,
dude.
I love that scene where Nolan like looks up because he realizes like, why am I feeling this? I hate that I'm feeling these emotions right now. He's loyal to his planet, and that's like what he wants to be in his mind right now, and he wants to finish this, but he literally can't. So he's like, "What's happening?" So he takes off because it's kind of like a child having a fit. But when you're a superhero, you just fly away.
Which I do
hero,
think,
sorry.
yeah,
not really a hero anymore.
But that was the thing that is actually very similar to how it happened in the comics, because like in the comics, yeah, Invincible is just getting beaten to a pulp, and it's just like Omni-Man is just can't. He's just like
Does it have the baseball flashback in the comics?
I don't think it has the baseball, but it does have like
which
some
again
stuff
is
that.
like a perfect like cheesy like
Yep.
little flashback.
But
I was like, of course it goes back
worked.
to him as a kid and he's playing fucking baseball. I was like, of course he is. Like, why wouldn't he? That's such a
It's
I mean,
little
like
kid
classic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and without Debbie's monologue, not really a monologue, but without Debbie's lines during that scene doesn't work.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
No.
Because I mean, that was kind of her role in it. Like they even talk about it, where it's like she was teaching him about humanity and how to be human, essentially.
This was the question.
So,
now that we're talking about
yeah.
Debbie, I want to ask you, Paul, because I've heard people talking about how Debbie had a really like smaller role in the comics than she does in the show. Is that true?
Yeah, she starts off they accelerate her growth in this show versus in the comics, because in the comics she is just kind of like the, I'm the mom, I'm the hap, like everything's good. And then when Omni-Man goes crazy, that's when like she which you kind of get hints of it here at the end in the finale with her and the tailor sitting and having a drink. She goes down a very destructive path where she's just drinking all the time and like kind of falls down that rabbit hole.
I don't blame her.
Yeah,
I mean, you see her
I don't think anybody fucking
feels
justified. Wine, it feels like.
Yeah, but the bottle of wine was always like she wasn't a driven thing. She was I think she was a stay-at-home mom in the comics, but I can't remember now off the top of my head. But like, and then she starts kind of like getting her own feet and doing all this other stuff and like getting out of her own head and like doing things and living again, essentially. And then all the other stuff happens throughout the season or the series. So,
but I mean, also,
yeah, like they accelerate her to make her more than just like the mom character. And then
I mean, also you cast Sandra Oh to voice her, you got to do something with her. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think that's crazy to think about, because Debbie is like my sleeper for one of my favorite characters in this entire show. And like to learn that in the comics that really wasn't a thing, at least maybe way later or something along those lines, but like that shocks me a little bit. So
I would say they take a couple leaps and bounds between the comics and this, and I say leaps and bounds, they tweak certain things. So like Mark's girlfriend in this, I'm blanking on her name off the top of my head.
Amber.
Yeah, Amber.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. She in the comics looks a lot more like Gwen Stacy. Just blonde haired chick.
I heard about that.
No big deal. And honestly,
voiced by Sazu
doesn't
Beats.
matter. Doesn't matter. Like it still works for what they're trying to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the big things though is that what I noticed was Mark's friend William, which in the comics they make a joke about like how he will always be called William. He does not want to be called Willie, Bill. It is William. That is my name. It's like, all right,
William. You got it.
Like, okay.
Well,
okay.
that's what's funny is, so like that whole college campus scene in episode 6 that happens later on in the comics as well.
Nice.
So
with Amber as well.
I think Amber's there. Yeah, because I think Amber is there. But when they go to the college campus and they do all that stuff, when they're in college, that's when Will comes out as being gay.
So that's way earlier in the show.
Yeah, so like they're like normal.
Like they kind of started off with that.
Yeah, because they I think in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, Will and Adam Eve date briefly. And so like they have like this weird, or like what they have like a weird like small town, like just kind of passing around, like people dating other people's friends and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and then when they get to college, I think it is Rick, the same guy as Rick. Him and Will start off very like button heads, like very words. I'm blanking, man. I'm running on fumes
all
today.
good.
Words but they butt heads a lot just because Rick is just pushing Will's buttons just because he knows he can. So he calls him Will. It's like, my name's William. All right, Will, let's go. He's like, and then like they end up getting together, and then all that stuff happens with the fucking cyborg men.
Which that episode, for some reason, more than like anything else, disturbed me a little bit.
Yep.
Like I mean, there was,
because it was, for me, it was the cutting out of the fucking vocal cords.
Yeah.
It was the fucking vocal cord getting cut out.
Then,
Yeah.
Then
talk about
they,
this real quick, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
The quick jab where he breaks the dude's jaw at the end, and then he's like, "Sorry, my bad." Like I was like, "Yeah, you deserve that. Screw that guy."
That wasn't a quick jab. That was a backhand.
Sure.
Like,
okay.
Just,
so Sinclair, so Ezra Miller's character,
great
the government recruits him, and they say that they're basically using more Cybermen, and they're using deceased army veterans.
Yeah, that's also super fucked up.
That is, see, it's super fucked up, but that's also how they get around the morality of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, he originally was like taking live people. It's like these are corpses, these are cadavers. They are no.
These people are dead.
So that's what they make the line in the show, like, they're serving their country one last time. And yep, that's the thing. Like, whenever they find this out, and of course when it's how Invincible wasn't around when all that stuff happened, so he doesn't know those exist.
He doesn't know that those exist, and also
when
that
he
Sinclair's
finds
working
out,
with them.
Yeah, when he finds out, he like almost loses it on
Cecil,
the old guy, Cecil. Thank you. Like, he almost loses on Cecil. Like, what the? How can you work? It's like, look, dude. Like, look at you. Case in point, I can't stop you. Like, look at your dad. All right, we threw everything, including Cthulhu, at him, and it like didn't stop him.
That satellite
Hail
laser,
Mary.
Yeah, that fucking satellite laser straight out of fucking Justice League. Yeah.
Also, I think one of my favorite things, of course, it's big laser, points in one direction. It's really big, and it only like fires off of like one point of it, right?
Yep.
When he decides to fly up at it, he doesn't go in any other direction. He goes up through the laser.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, why?
He wants to prove a point. He's like, fuck you and your stupid laser. Punch.
And it made for a cool scene. Him flying through the beam.
And flying through it. Yeah, it was really cool. But
yeah.
$40 billion for a nosebleed.
Yeah, the world's most expensive nosebleed. I really liked that line.
What a line.
Or when the house exploded with them in it.
Yep.
Oh shit!
Just nothing.
After grabbing the fucking spine, I
was straight out of Mortal Kombat. Like he looked like fucking Sub-Zero.
It was just like right in the lower back, and he didn't rip it out. It wasn't anything grotesque. He literally just grabbed and squeezed. It's just like, I don't even want to think about what that pain is.
Like, goddamn! And then he lifted the guy up, didn't he? He's just like holding this dude by the spine.
I don't think
he lifted him up.
Did he not? Maybe I just created that, but that's still fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I think because when the bomb ended, he like the spine in his hand just got like crumbled away.
Yeah.
I was surprised the dude could move his arms. Like, he's like, and smacks that button, and I'm like, how?
I mean, sheer force of will and
adrenaline. It did nothing. It did nothing.
It plot.
Like,
it needed plot.
Which, I mean, what a fantastic episode, though. Just, I mean, we were talking about how in the finale when they're fighting, how that first 20 minutes is just a relentless beatdown. But I mean, there was something I really liked. It almost reminded me in the previous episode where they're trying to stop him, and there's that feeling of futility throughout the whole thing, where it's like we're throwing everything that we have and it's barely even touching him. Like there's nothing that we can do. It reminded me a lot of Infinity War. Just I mean with Thanos to where it's like you can't stop this. I'm happening, and
I
was
am
just
inevitable.
Yeah,
because it starts off with the soldiers in the house.
Yep.
That fails. The house blowing up. That fails. He then flies off, gets hit with a laser, which I love how he just looks dead at the camera, like he's looking for a drone, being like, "You wouldn't fucking dare." Laser. It's like, and I can see it just being like him seeing them build it. Like, when are you sure, man? Build your fucking laser. And he's like, "You motherfucker."
which is also great though too, just because it's like it kind of gave me the sense where like as things escalated to where it's like he wasn't initially gonna like go and fuck up Cecil, but it was like now I might have to go and fuck up Cecil because they're like, you fucking use that on me. like I really like
hit him
that.
with the laser. You hit him with, and then it's just so after the laser. After the big laser, that's when Cecil shows up. And Cecil plays the real ballsy game of Nightcrawler cat and mouse with this SOB.
Yeah,
I was trying to bring that up. That ballsy is the right word for that. Like I was impressed beyond belief that he was just like, here I am,
not flinching at all.
A normal human. Let's go.
And you could tell like the teleporting was like taking stuff out of him because he was every time he was just like, so man, I've stared death in the eyes more times than I could think, and I ain't gonna lie, that put my balls in my throat. And I was like, that's a valid line.
Accurate.
I liked at the end though too when he teleports back and you see his tie's missing and it cuts back to Omni-Man like holding the tie. I was like, oh shit!
You almost goofed. And then that's when the Cybermen show up.
Yeah.
He's just buying time though, right? Cecil was just trying to buy some time.
Yeah.
He was. That is all that was. Everything
because they were trying to get a hold of
just to stall. That was.
They were trying to get a hold of Mark and
like
Eve. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hail Mary.
And then Hail Mary, the super adequate name for that. Hail Mary, I love it.
The Cthulhu monster that they show him beating in episode 1.
Yeah, great callback.
Which I was like, that's awesome.
But then to appease the viewers, he's like, yeah, but we took out his pain sensors or whatever, and we hopped him up on every drug we know. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Needed that.
Some real comic book shit.
They got rid of his pain receptors, hopped him up on every drug, and he blames you.
Oh yeah.
So that's why he's not going around and like just fucking up everything. He's like,
he thinks it's your fault.
He knows it's his fault. He's like, no, he blames you for this. He knows damn good and well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Cthulhu or Hail Mary was gonna win, right? And then Mark intervenes.
Yeah, Mark shows up.
It looks a lot like he's gonna lose.
Yeah.
And then,
of course, in the middle of that though, too, you have the point where the Marlar twins revive. What was his name?
Immortal Man.
Immortal, yeah.
Yep.
Which was also which I know we're talking about that one scene, but I really can't overstate like how much I enjoy the Mauler twins as characters.
Yeah,
because they're so funny. They're voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who's a fantastic voice actor. He played, I believe he was Cobra Bubbles in Lilo and Stitch, if I remember correctly. Which is how I always remember. Anytime I see him anywhere else, it's like, oh, it's the guy from Lilo and Stitch.
What a name of that character, Cobra Bubbles.
Yeah.
That's Disney.
All right.
Just the concept of him like constantly cloning himself, and then like each of the clones thinking they're the original, and like the constant bickering between the two of them is fantastic. And then the wonderful cherry on top. Anytime those two are in a fight scene, they play a Run the Jewels song, and it's just such a fucking banger every single time. Oh, I love it. The moment I start hearing RTJ, I'm like, let's fucking go, baby. This is what I'm talking about. You can't get that in the comics.
No, you can't. You can't.
They have good song choices in this entire show.
Yeah.
It does. Every time they start playing a song, though, I am caught off guard for the first like 2 seconds. Oh, okay, that's a real okay, cool.
And that's when, because I'm watching on the computer, so Amazon has that like IQ thing or whatever on the side, so I just
Yep.
hover around. I was like, okay, take note of that song.
Oh, cool.
Add that to the playlist.
Huh? Yeah.
The twins, the Mahler twins, they do quite a lot of good stuff in that. And like and then like, you know, you talk about those scenes where they're just running around and bringing Immortal Man back to life. That is something they did in the comics.
Mhm.
That is something what's funny, I think in the comics was they didn't get the collar on him. So like they reattach the head and they're like, all right, get the collar. And he goes to get the collar and Mortal Man jokes up and he's like, where is he? And then bounces out and he was like, next time we put the collar on first. And then
I really like the way they did it
glowed.
in the show, though, to where they go off and they're like, robot gave us bad schematics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, immortal, not so immortal. They brought him back and he was alive for what, like
Died twice.
15 minutes?
Literally ripped in half.
I mean, you
Again.
could look.
God.
He said immortal. They didn't say indestructible. That just means
True.
like he can't die, you know,
Sure.
by normal means. However,
just saying.
being ripped in half by a extraterrestrial, yeah, that's you're not ready for that one.
We have the name
Which
Invincible
in
and we have the
itself,
name
another comic
Immortal.
reference.
Was it a comic reference?
Well, just the way Immortal dies in the second one, to where it's a character who can't die and gets and is killed by being ripped in half. That actually happens to Wolverine, who is a character that can't die and is ripped in half by the Hulk in a particular comic line. And then he's dead in that timeline for a very long time. But I mean, it's Marvel, so people don't stay dead.
Yeah,
but I mean, he
yeah.
dies.
He died for a bit.
Speaking
He was dead.
Speaking of a time where Mark almost died, that Battle Beast fight.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking episode 5. That one actually was probably one of
that's the one
my
with Titan,
favorite ones. Yeah, that was
Yes.
the one with Titan.
Yeah.
So like that was probably one of my strongest outside of the I'm gonna say the finale, because 7 and
Yeah.
8 were one goddamn episode.
Yeah.
That was 2 big ass fight scenes that they were like, hey, we can't have this all in the one big thing. We gotta
Imagine if that was one big episode, like just an hour long or 2 hour long episode.
Yeah, a 2-hour fight scene. That's all it is.
Like uncut. I hope they release that just uncut someday. Just
I'm sure.
but we need to talk. Boom.
Yeah. And then god damn. But so you have all that. But yeah, in the because Titan goes to him.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's like writing Invincible, and he's like, you forget how to spell it? He's like, look, your name's long as shit, all right? You know what I was talking about.
Which seems like another callback to the comics, being like, we don't have to do this.
CBL or something like that. He's like, are you trying to talk to me?
And it's like, and of course Mark like lands, and he's like, oh, he's like, all right, I mean, if you want to fight, we can fight right now. He's like, no, idiot, I'm not trying to call you down here to fight you.
Yep.
And it was just like that, them setting up the whole episode, because that was when the Guardians of the Globe were kind of starting to get their feet in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they get obliterated.
Dude, that whole thing. I'm trying to remember if Beastmaster actually came into the comic that early, because I feel like he didn't, but at the same time he might have. And like
Beastmaster?
Battle Beast, I think.
Battle Beast.
Okay.
The Lion-O, all right,
Okay.
big lion guy.
Yeah.
Big.
The
hammer.
only guy in that team, the only guy on that team who actually like was just like sitting there, and all the everybody's fighting. They're like, all right, yeah, and I was like, weird. The lion, like this dude, I remember vaguely from the comics, like later on in the comics, being like a badass, and it's just like, my turn. And just Monster Girl down, Robot down. This like
fucks up everyone.
Down.
Invincible,
like,
pretty much dead.
Invincible dies.
He gets bodied in that one. That fight he gets bodied in.
He only survived because he was like, I'm bored, and then leaves, teleports out. Like that's the writer's way of being like, look, you like unless Omni-Man shows up down here and saves his life, like nobody's stopping this dude. And if we show him losing, that will cheapen him. So it's just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm just you guys suck. I was told there was a fight, and there's not now. I'm out.
Which, I mean, it is both a cop out, but at the same time, it's like says a lot about the character though too, to where he's like, you know what, fuck this is boring. Like, I dig it. I like that. I liked that character. That fight was very hard to watch.
I definitely learned that he was more prevalent later on in the series after he like made an appearance here, and now I'm just stoked to see when he comes back.
Yeah.
Oh no! Someone mentioned that at the finale it showed like it teased all the villains that were kind of like side stories, and I want to bring that up because I kind of forgot about those characters until it showed us all, and I'm like, oh yeah, the Mars people,
like the Mars people, and then like the alien invasion at the very beginning.
Yeah,
like like that. I forgot
they had
about all
to deal
that.
with time differently. That was really cool.
That's cool.
So that's the thing though. All those things do come up in the comic books. That they all literally did that. So you have I'm trying to go through in my head. You have like the Professor Earthquake or whatever the hell they called that guy with the bracers or whatever.
Dr. Seismic, maybe?
Dr. Seismic. Of course it is. It's some earthquake pun. Like
something ridiculous, yeah.
Some pun related to earthquakes. So like him being in there, the Mars aliens showing up, the little green guys and their time thing, because that plays another role into Robot Monster Girl if they end up going that route with it, or what do they call him, Rudy. Yeah,
yep.
Rudy. Yeah, Rudy and Monster Girl, like their relationship. And then,
which also very cool. Like that
cool.
the whole like subplot with Robot.
I liked it, but it felt weird to me. It just felt tonally off for like literally every other storyline that was in this. Like
I think for me it was I figured in the way that they'd kind of played it, like up until we see the payoff in the last in the second to last episode or whatever. I figured like Robot's doing something nefarious, like he's secretly a villain, and actually he was just trying to get a body for himself so he could go be the monster guy. But I thought all of that was really interesting. I again, not having knowledge of the comics, I didn't know that he was actually a guy controlling a robot.
Yeah, I didn't know that
as a drone. Like that was super rad. Who eventually just becomes Iron Man because now he puts on the robot suit.
I totally agree with the switch up there where you think he's being evil but he's not. I agree with that plot point of it. I feel like a lot of it was kind of implied for the viewer, and like a lot of it didn't seem fleshed out. They were just kind of going by beat, and it didn't really seem earned. Really, like I don't know. It seemed the Mahler twins aspect in it I liked, but I don't know. I didn't dig that part.
Fair.
Yeah.
Did you like Optimus Prime though?
I thought actually Optimus Prime was kind of lame. Because it just kind of walks around and it's like,
does the Dragon Zord? The Dragon Zord?
Like, I was like, this man can control robots with his mind, and that's the best he can do. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm kind of happy they did that, and they didn't just like have 50 or 60 robots just jump out and like just start running at them. It's like, okay, it's just gonna turn to cannon fodder where they're just like punch, crazy bro into the thing. Yeah. But yeah, that moment of him almost getting shot in that episode though.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was really that was a moment where he's just like, you idiot, and then it's just like, oh shit. Like
where he's like, oh fuck, I'm mortal again.
Die.
Yeah.
I'm not just like chilling somewhere. Like I'll die now.
Damn, what a cool show.
Does Rudy age normally? Because he just like
he'll age normally.
Okay.
So yeah, like they
just a copy of.
Sure, but I mean, it's not like he was made in a lab, so I don't know.
True. That's the thing. They put him at that age, like I said, for Monster Girl, and like they end up having a thing.
And that was something I was thinking about. I was like, he's gonna age like a regular person, and she's still gonna get younger. And I was like, why would he do that? But then I was like, oh yeah, because he's working on trying how to figure out how to.
They do. God, they comic book it up to where like she wears a thing and it does a thing and it fixes
stuff happens.
Yeah. And it's
comic book science.
Yeah, comic book science. It doesn't like revert her back to normal, but I think it
stops the age.
Prevents her from like de-aging.
The de-aging.
Yeah, makes sense.
Can you imagine if like he went through all that to make a human body, and Monster Girl's like, nah, I don't.
I was waiting for it, dude. I was waiting to be like, no, this is weird.
Which it is, and that's the thing. So in the comics, Rexplode dies. Which
Finally,
well, maybe spoiler. I don't know. They might go Walking Dead with this, where it's like, they died in the comic, but they lived in the show. So
same writer.
Let's end it.
Same writer.
Yeah, it is same writer. And so he dies, and that's when Robot takes his DNA and then makes the body. So like that's when that happens. Versus this one where he just like boop.
Where he took his liver, I think.
No, he just took a blood sample.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
He just goes like boop. He's just like, you need to watch it, and then he's like, ow, why did you?
Oh yeah, that's right. And he had like the needle in his palm.
Yeah.
Which the comic way where he's already dead. Still weird. Just want to say.
It's that's weird. And he tries to like play it off a bit. Like it seems less weird, but it's still like weird.
It's still weird.
To be fair, I mean the dude lived in a tube. Like he doesn't really have a lot of social like abilities to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretending to be a robot for like 20 years or something. Like
Yeah, I forget that he's 30. I forgot that. It was just like, I'm a 30-year-old genius in a 14-year-old body. It's like, oh yeah. Oh, that's dangerous.
But Monster Girl is also like
similar.
Like
she's like mid
20s or 40.
Say mid 20s.
Similar situation.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
Anybody? I was just say, anybody have any? I don't say any other parts they want to bring up before we wrap up, or?
Oh man,
I think we kind of covered it. I really like Alan the Alien.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a fan of Amber overall, though. I do want that on record that I'm not a fan of Amber overall. I don't know, something about her.
She's fine.
Alan the Alien comes up and plays a bigger part later on, and I love it. And I love how Seth Rogen is voicing him. I love that.
Oh boy.
Seth Rogen's a great choice, but also just the idea of like, hey, I'm an alien whose job it is to go to different planets and test out new superheroes. It's such a fantastic concept.
Oh, yeah.
He's been going to the wrong planet for like 30 years or something.
Yep. Which, once again, it was the same thing. But here's what's funny is, right? That means that he has been fighting Omni-Man for like every year for however long, which means you've been fighting the Vetramite, whatever the hell they're called, the Velveetas, without realizing.
Chicken Vita.
Yeah,
the Velveetas.
Yeah, the Velveetas. You've been fighting the Velveetas for years without realizing it.
Not very good at his job. I'm gonna say it right now.
Yeah, he's a little.
Look, you gotta think it's a little difficult reading with one eye. Like one eye, it's gonna be tough.
No depth perception if he's fighting. Like I mean, it's.
And
I like to think of it as like standardized testing in schools. You know what I mean? It's not the most effective thing, but you know.
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm looking forward to Battle Beast because I hear a lot of good things about him. I think Debbie is still one of my favorite characters, and I hope that continues. And I hope Mark improves and can live up to his actual name for once. Again, that's just my opinion on the name.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the level up. As far as like final thoughts go, this was my first exposure to it after hearing years of like Greg Miller talk about it and seeing lots of buzz about it on Twitter from a handful of people and stuff. And so when that first episode dropped, I was like, you know what, I've got the time. I'm going to give this a shot, and I'm very glad I did because it's a very unique universe with very unique characters and like a really fun and different take on the comic book genre, which does a cool job of being parody in lots of ways, but also still being serious enough to stand on its own legs, which I think is really cool. Great characters, like absolutely stellar characters.
Overall, I loved it, and I just want more. So
yeah, I know they announced the next 2 seasons, and they better fucking be out next week because goddamn, I need to watch more of it, man. I need it.
And honestly, to come out, it's running at the same time as Falcon and Winter Soldier, and me liking Invincible more.
Same.
Yeah, right.
Like
that says something.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think the message is more poignant in to like current events right now in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So like I love that aspect of it. But overall, as a show, and with the COVID altering that time or the plot of that show, I feel like it hurt it a little bit too. But still, like if you would have told me that I would enjoy Invincible more than Falcon Winter Soldier, I would have said you were crazy because I'm like before I didn't even know what this was. So
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to season 2. Obviously, like if you watched the end scene in the last episode, I imagine they're gonna hit each and every one of those little things and like tie it all back in there. Whether or not they start adding some more stuff in, whether or not like what they try to keep in there, and like what they're trying to get rid of. Because honestly, like you were saying with Amber, like Amber's character, like I kind of wish she hadn't come back, and not like, or at least not had come back in the same way, because then it seems like, oh, she only likes him because he almost died, and it's like
Yeah,
that
I did kind of get that vibe, and I was also,
relationships built off of trauma do not last,
and I'm
it's
also
not
kind of,
good.
and maybe it's the point of it is to kind of like satirize this sort of thing, but like the sort of like the superhero love triangle where one person's a superhero and another one's not, and they're kind of caught in the middle of that.
Yeah, it's
like,
I know. It's just fast forward to the part where
she eventually leaves, and then
where
Eve,
Mark and Eve just start
Yeah.
banging. Like
I was gonna say that's
just
probably a
fast forward.
spoiler, but I assumed it anyway. So
That's-
I'm okay with
yeah,
it.
I
that's
figured
yeah.
that's where it's going.
Yeah, and you can
yeah.
see the chemistry between them all season.
Like from like the
every
first
time.
episode, like yeah.
like every time.
Speaking,
Every
yeah,
time.
there was a scene where Adam like shows up, Adam Eve shows up like at his window and then sees them or sees
Like,
Mark making out with Amber. But I love how she's like, oh, but then she's like, good for you, man. Like I felt that. I felt that.
Yeah, she's like, I could be petty, but good for you.
But yeah, good job.
Mm-hmm.
Good character writing.
But yeah. That's
all around
I would
great.
give it a solid 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10
Yeah.
for me. Like I obviously I can see where it could get better, but at the same time, like for a season 1, 8 episode like Amazon show, like yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping the animation picks up a little bit, but outside of that, like,
do we think it will?
Anything else?
Do we think it will?
I'm fine if it doesn't. I didn't have
No.
didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it. So
yeah, I honestly I think they might try to polish it up a little bit, but I think they realize that they can get away with cutting a couple corners here and there. So why change it?
They'll focus on those big scenes again, where it's poignant that they do so.
As long as those scenes that they cut out for all their promos look just, that's all they care about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all so much for watching. If you got a moment, please like and subscribe, share the video with all your friends, and we will see you at the next Waypoint.